Welcome to the Steve Malzberg Show. I'm Dennis Michael Lynch filling in for Steve today, who is off observing the Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur. Last week, CNN held a debate. I was very disappointed with that debate. One of the reasons why is because one of my favorite candidates was not asked a question until 45 minutes into the program. And I am now joined by him. It's Governor Mike Huckabee, GOP Presidential Candidate, former governor of Arkansas, and author of God, Guns, Grits, and Gravy. Governor Huckabee, it is so great to have you on.
Dennis, thank you so much. Great to be on the show with you today.
I want to start off real quick. The Pope is here, and every time I see a clip, I see him standing next to President Obama. Is the Pope being here going to help the Democrats, or is it going to help, or is it going to hurt the GOP?
I don't know that there will be a great deal of political consequences as far as to either party, but I do think that the president has made a huge mistake in not being a very gracious host, inviting the Pope to his home, and then trying to make sure that you bring people into the path of the Pope who are known because of their very visceral and sometimes very vocal disagreement with the Pope personally and with the message of the church generally. Dennis, I'm not even a Catholic, but you don't try to embarrass a guest that you invite to your home. You don't try to bring someone in who's going to instruct the Pope on what the doctrine of the church should be. The Pope is the one who tries to teach doctrine to the people. It's not that you have dissidents going and teaching the doctrine to the Pope. I'm just appalled by it. I think it's the most remarkable kind of, I think, just disrespectful manner of treating the Pope. I mean, keep in mind, this is a president who bowed to the Saudi king, who bowed to the Emperor of Japan, who will often take on robes and various costumes to fit into the local culture. Yet when the Pope comes, he wants to bring people in who strongly push for abortion rights, for euthanasia, for same-sex marriage, knowing that that flies in the face of the doctrine of the Catholic Church. Well,
Governor, I want to move on to something here, more about you and what it is that you would like to do for the American people as president. The other night, you spoke about the fair tax, which some people call a consumption tax. And I don't think many people really understand how it works. So in the briefest, most concise way you can, President Huckabee wants a fair tax because?
Well, because the fair tax doesn't punish productivity and reward irresponsibility like the current tax system does. Look, let me give one sentence that'll sell the fair tax. It eliminates the IRS. And the reason it does, it's the only tax plan that does, but it does because with a fair tax, you pay at the point at which you purchase something. You don't have anything taken out of your paycheck, no payroll taxes anymore. Income tax is zero. Capital gains tax, tax on savings, tax on dividends, tax on inheritance, all zero. Businesses are able to make business decisions rather than making tax decisions. We bring manufacturing back to this country, and then it's something you'll appreciate. If you really want to deal with illegal immigration, well, make it so that it's no longer an advantage to be an illegal immigrant employee or the employer of an illegal immigrant. Which, if you're illegal, your employer's not paying the payroll tax, the employee is not paying the payroll tax. Both people in that transaction are benefiting by being illegal.
Well, Governor,
if you have the fair tax, then everybody's going to be paying the same tax, and there is no advantage to being illegal.
Yes, but Governor, to make me really happy, and I don't want to talk about too much about me, there would be no illegal immigrants here to spend any money. So, but let me shift something about the fair tax, because to many people and myself, it sounds almost like a sales tax, like a national sales tax. So in other words,
it is.
So if I go, so let me just give this example. So if I go to the grocery store right now in New York, it's going to cost me $100 with New York State sales tax, wherever it is in my county. Let's say, for instance, it comes out to $108 and whatever. What is it going to cost me now under your program?
Well, if you have the fair tax, you're going to pay the consumption tax at the time you purchase anything new. If you could buy something used, you're not. A couple of caveats. Number one, everybody gets, if you're a citizen, if you're illegal, you don't get this. Another reason that it helps with illegal immigration. But if you're a citizen, you get what's called a prebate, which means there is essentially an untaxing of your basic necessities. That's an important thing to keep in mind. But whatever you pay when you think, oh gosh, the tax is going to be very expensive. Actually, you will pay less because, number one, you're going to take out the embedded tax that is in everything that we currently purchase.
Okay.
If you go to the store and buy something, 22% of the cost of that item in America is embedded tax that was assessed as we tax labor and capital in the production of something. That disappears.
But Governor, can we get this implemented like overnight? Is it one of those things that's going to be an easy shift, or is it something that America is not ready for?
Well, I think America's ready for it when they hear about it. It has 75 sponsors in the House for the legislation. Okay. I will tell you this, we'll never get the fair tax passed unless there is a president who is able to sell it, explain it, and articulate it. Well, one of the reasons that we have not gotten farther with it is because there's never been a president that understood it.
Well, let me move on, because I want to hear all the great things you have to say. I want to go into jobs. Let's go into jobs because that's a problem here in the country. What would be the #1 thing you would do to help small businesses create new jobs?
I don't want to sound like a broken record, but pass the fair tax, because the reason a lot of jobs aren't created is that the tax consequences of creating a job is just onerous. There's more to it than that, and I would say that it's also getting the regulatory burden off the backs of businesses.
Absolutely.
Look, for the first time in American history, businesses are trying to figure out how to shrink, not grow. It's very difficult to add jobs when business owners are trying to keep their employees under 30 hours a week and make sure they don't have more than 50 people employed by their company or firm, because both of those thresholds put them in a very, very difficult and costly position.
Well, you know, we also have a situation right now, Governor, where in many states it pays more to be on welfare than it does to go get a lower middle class job, if you will. I mean, how are we going to get
That's exactly right.
How are we going to get people off the welfare line and back into work?
Back in the 90s, when we did the reform of welfare, and in Arkansas we took more than half the people off welfare and put them in jobs. And part of it is you put a strict time limit. You don't get unlimited benefits. The longer you give people something for free, the longer they will take it. And the more they will become dependent upon it, the more they will expect that it's part of what they deserve and should never have question. Well, that's nonsense. You can't have that.
I agree with you 100%. And I want to hit one last topic, which I thought you were just spot on with. But before we do it, I want to play this bite. We were out in New York today. There was an anti-Iran protest actually being put on by Iranian Americans. Play the clip, please.
I was born in Iran. Iranian people have no issues with Israel or Jewish community.
We see a lot of Iranian citizens burning the American flag. Who's driving that?
That is simply a propaganda.
Who did you vote for in the last election, for presidential election?
Unfortunately, I voted for President Obama.
With 2016 coming up, who are you going to vote for?
I definitely will vote for the candidate that's going to have a strong foreign policy, which my choice is going to be Republican.
All right, Governor, I have 1 minute for you to sell the American people how you're going to be the toughest guy on ISIS and what you're going to do with this Iran deal.
Well, first of all, one of the candidates on the stage the other night mentioned that we need to have diplomacy rather than military. And let me just say to you, if you want to have a diplomatic solution, make sure you have the strongest, most fierce army behind that diplomat, and he'll be a lot more effective. So it has to do with building the strongest, most potent military in the history of mankind and going after ISIS with everything possible to obliterate their supply lines, not to let a single truck move, to shut down their capacity to move in cyberspace, eliminate their Twitter accounts and Facebook pages so they can't recruit and communicate. And everywhere we can, and that's going to be a lot of places, destroy them, literally take them apart, tire by tire on the trucks that roll with ammo.
Are you, so you're for boots on the ground?
I am, if that's what it takes, but I don't want to just have our boots. I think we need to get the boots of a lot of people in the Middle East on the ground with us. But look, this is a serious threat. This threat is not just isolated to the Middle East. This is a threat to us here, as evidenced by the fact that we've got a woman beheaded in Oklahoma City who just went to work. You've had shootings.
Governor, I got to cut you. You know how this works. I have to cut you off. We're out of time. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thanks, pal. Up next, Newsmax contributor Dick Morris.